Hello and welcome to the Horror of It All Movie Podcast, video edition. This is episode 2 in a series of 10 episodes that I'm going to be doing on my favorite horror movies from the 1980s. And each year I will be talking about in a different episode. This episode is for 1981, so it's my top 10 favorite horror movies of 1981. Let's just jump right into it. Number 10, The Howling. This is a little bit older of a release, 2013. Wow, but this is an older Scream Factory release. I've always liked The Howling. Sure, the effects, arguably, I guess, are a little bit better in American Werewolf in London, which I also like. Honestly, I've always been a Howling guy. My favorite werewolf movie is The Howling, and I mean. Dee Wallace is in it. Dennis Dugan of directing like Adam Sandler movies fame is in it way before he did that. It's directed by Joe Dante. But I always have fun with it. It's a really good werewolf movie. There's some cheesy stuff, like, I don't want to call it claymation, but there's definitely animated-ish things in it, which would make American Werewolf in London maybe a little bit better. I don't know. But I always have fun with it. So my number 10 in my top 10 for 1981 favorite horror movies, The Howling. Number 9. What else can be said about my number 9? It's Evil Dead. I am a huge Evil Dead fan. However, I am also, out of the trilogy, I'm an Evil Dead 2 guy. But I always found this interesting, that a lot of people have always been confused, and people still are, I think, about so they basically remade the second one, a remake of this is the second one. If that's really how you want to look at it, even the filmmakers, even if they say it, I'm not sure. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I watched anything on that. There's definitely a really cool documentary out by an independent filmmaker that is... I don't have it handy. I wish I did, because I could give a shout out, but it was pretty good about Evil Dead. And I mean, come on, it's Bruce Campbell. This one's more horror than, say, the second one. The second one's definitely horror, but the second one's also slapsticky, which makes it fun. But anyway, where I was going with the Evil Dead thing is pay attention to the beginning of Evil Dead 2. Because Evil Dead 2 kind of wraps up what happened in Evil Dead 1. So I guess, in a way, now reminiscing and thinking about it, they kind of did a remake thing because it's only him and his girlfriend, as opposed to him and his friends, like it was in the first one. So maybe a little bit, but they do completely connect. Meaning, the part where it zooms into Bruce Campbell, Ash, and he turns into a demon, or a deadite, that is the beginning of Part 2. The prologue is like a redone prologue. They didn't use flashback of the first movie for whatever reason. But anyway, Evil Dead is my number 9. It's definitely brutal. It's definitely over the top. It's definitely all over the place, shaky camera. So if that bothers some people that haven't seen Evil Dead, you may be new to this. I don't know. It's possible. But I definitely grew up with Evil Dead. The edition, in case you're curious, is definitely an old edition, and I have not upgraded this on Blu-ray, believe it or not. I've done it with the other ones, but not this one, because this one is just killer. And I haven't found one that I feel is even better. I mean, there could be some that I don't even know about, but there's 3 discs. There is the widescreen edition, the full-frame edition, Ladies of the Evil Dead. It's the Ultimate Edition. Has a cool poster. But I always have a lot of fun watching Evil Dead. I mean, come on, it's classic. That's a given. But this is a really cool set. you ever come across this and you're like, even though it's DVD, I still highly recommend it. But number 9, Evil Dead. Alright. There's some really good shit in 81. There's some really good shit all over 80, but 81 was one of my years where it was a little tricky. And even now, because I made this list a while ago, because I've been meaning to do these for a while, there's some in my honorable mentions that I'm like, but at the end of the day, definitely. So my number 8 in my top 10 favorite horror movies in 1981 is the infamous The Burning. Amazing Tom Savini effects. I believe he did this instead of doing Friday the 13th Part 2 because he didn't want to continue. Like, initially he was like, Jason's dead, I don't understand. But anyway, this is definitely a summer camp slasher, if anybody's unfamiliar with this, but there are some killer effects. I've got to hand it to Tom Savini, and I've told him in person how much I do love this movie. The Burning is just great. There's not a lot too much that I can say about it, other than the effects are great, the backstory's great with Cropsey, which is based on like a real folklore, I believe, like a real story, or not based maybe, but based on like an urban legend type thing. I don't know, maybe it's real. But this is an older edition too. This is from Scream Factory 2013 as well. But it's a great edition. There are other editions I do not have. I believe, I feel like Arrow put it out maybe. But anyway, number 8, The Burning. But yeah, probably one of the best scenes is the infamous canoe scene with the shears, like cuts off fingers, it goes in the throat. Like, the effects are amazing. Number 7. No. Where am I? 6. I don't know why I do that. I get talking and then I'm like, where am I? More Tom Savini amazingness. He I can't remember if he did this before or after The Burning, but it's still the same year. And also directed by Joseph Zito, who went on to work with him in the final chapter, Friday the 13th final chapter. I am talking about The Prowler. And there's Tom Savini's autograph right there from a few times that I met him. I personally have always had a great time meeting him. I know sometimes some people didn't, but hey, people are human. Maybe he's having a bad day. I don't know. Hell, he was so impressed by the amount of the collection and how much knowledge I had of his that, and he signed a few things. He signed this for free for me. Granted, that was years ago. The reason why I haven't updated The Prowler, well, aka Rosemary's Killer. I have a t-shirt that says that. Is because, well, I think initially the Blu-ray I was like, is it basically the same? And now I'm thinking back on it as I was doing this and getting my stuff out, because I haven't watched The Prowler in a long time. Last time I watched it actually was with Joe Bob, which was amazing. Be cool if you did The Burning. Anyway, is it has a lot of the same stuff, if not the same stuff, and Blue Underground still owns it, so I'm fingers crossed. They've been pumping out fucking 4Ks. Come on, Blue Underground, The Prowler 4K. That would be awesome, but dare I say the effects in this are even better than in The Burning. Like, the violence is just through the top. Like, speaking of through the top, like the knife. Actually, the scene's right there. I don't know how well you can see that. But the knife through the top of the head, and the fucking hoe thing in the girl in the shower, like piercing through her abdomen, and the girl in the pool. Oh, man. But another good one, another great slasher. If you like slashers and you haven't seen The Prowler, it might not be one that's like a higher on the top, like as well known maybe. I don't know. Like, once I know something and I'm into it, I don't really know where it lies sometimes. And this is kind of that one. Like, I know some people could be like, oh wow, I know, of course I know what that is. And maybe they didn't, but I highly recommend this. And this is my number 7. I don't know why I said 6 before. 7. In my top 10, sorry, I spaced off there. In my top 10 favorite horror movies of 1981. Great backstory, great slasher. Kind of underrated, really. But The Prowler. Alright, on to number 6. More amazing 80s slashers, man. And this edition just came out last year, maybe? Recently, in the past year or two. My Bloody Valentine. Every time I watch this fucking movie, I like it more. I don't know how that's possible. There was an actor in it that looks reminded me a lot of my dad. Like when I watched this as a kid and I watched it with my younger brother for his first time, he picked up on it. My dad actually passed away last year, but it was nice rewatching this again and remembering that memory. But My Bloody Valentine is a great fucking story. Great kills. Great twist. Man, yeah. I'd go into the special features, but this is definitely one of those classic times with Scream Factory where they don't really put them on the back, which is kind of annoying, but maybe just time frame and everything. Definitely check out the uncut version of it, which is on here, finally complete, and it looks good. And because there was a DVD for a long time, and that one even was put out on Blu-ray, but this is the one to get. My number 6 in my top 10 of 1981 is My Bloody Valentine. Killer movie. Now, we are going to get into all but the last 2. I got 3 back-to-back. Italian. Of course I have Italian. This one so far has had no Italian, which is crazy because the last one is heavy Italian. It just happens. But anyway, this next one, I have 3 editions of it on Blu-ray. I have always been more of a fan of this than its predecessor, because I don't really call it necessarily a sequel to Anthropophagus. And I just kind of, but not really. I'm talking about Absurd. Some people call it a Halloween ripoff. Fine. I love this fucking movie. I mean, Jodie Amato's in it. George Eastman is the killer. This is a really cool addition from 88 Films. If you have all region, it comes with a Video Nasties booklet. It's pretty cool. But like I said, this Absurd is one of the infamous Video Nasties, which I did videos on my favorite Video Nasties. No order or anything like this, but previously I have 2 different videos on my channel. Go check it out if you're into Video Nasties and like the history of it and everything. My favorite edition, I think, of Absurd is my Severin, because it's really cool. It has the sound. They always call it the soundtrack. It's the score, but great edition. Great art, but I've always loved Absurd. There's something about it. They were trying real hard to make it American, to look American when it's not. There's an infamous biker scene in it with where is it? I'm blanking on his name. I hate when I do that. But anyway, he went on to he was more into the other side of the camera kind of thing, and he directed Cemetery Man and Stage Fright, and but super violent. I've talked about it before, so I won't go into it too much, but so if you follow me on my channel, you know how much I love this fucking movie, and if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. And if you like Italian, I more recommend it. The 3rd edition is an interesting one that I came across. I honestly thought that this was a VHS, okay? Until you get it. It's a little bit bigger. It is this really interesting, I think, I can't remember what it is. I want to say it's German, or I'm not good with like what language it is. Anyway, I think it's German. I could be wrong. But it also has Anthropophagus with it. And then you take it out and it looks like a VHS tape, but it's not. It's huge. It has like little magnets. It has a bunch of lobby cards. Super cool. The discs, however, are just in there like that. That part I don't like, but at least they're not just kicking around. It does have a little foam thing. But if you ever come across this, there's really nothing extra on them, but it's a little cool collector piece. I like it. It's cool. And I love Absurd. And I really like Anthropophagus. I love Anthropophagus, but Absurd is where it's at. Like I said, I've talked a lot about Anthropophagus and Absurd, but Absurd. But if you're getting any of them, definitely get this one. So, that is my number 5. Halfway through. Zooming right there. Sorry about that. Zooming right through. My number 4. Another Italian. And the next 2 are by the same director. This time I'm talking about my number 4 out of my top 10 of 1981. The Beyond. I know a lot of people go as far as to say it's their favorite Lucio Fulci. It's not mine, but it's definitely in. If it's not top 5, it's like number 6. It's in that area. I know, crazy, right? But I do really like The Beyond. I like other ones a little bit better, but it's a really cool story, and that final shot of The Beyond or Hell is haunting. But if you don't know much about it, it's basically about this hotel in Louisiana that was bought, and it has a history, and it's also one of the gates of hell through the basement, I believe. But both of these editions are great. This is an older edition. This is an Arrow edition from 2011. And I think it's Blu-ray as well, so it's early in Blu-ray. I don't even know if you can still get this. It has a really cool book, but if you can't, I believe you can still get this one, which is better. It looks better. There's more features. I think it goes into the infamous like black and white intro or color. I can't remember. It's been a long time, but the Grindhouse one of Lucio Fulci's The Beyond, which is my number 4 pick for my top 10 of the 81. We're getting down there. So after I say my number 2, I do have some honorable mentions as always, and then I'll say my number 1, and I'll call it a podcast. So let's just keep going. My number 3 is probably, I'd say, my number 3 favorite, roughly around there, of Lucio Fulci, which I have had a episode, I guess written like a list for Lucio Fulci. Like, I think it's not just my favorite horror movies of his, but I rank all of his horror movies. So I will definitely do that soon. Maybe when I get through this and I have some Vinegar Syndrome episodes coming out. Little teaser there that I will be talking about. It's loose, but yeah, I can say it. I'm definitely going to do it. In each episode, again, I'm going to do 5 favorite. Not just 5 favorite. What am I trying to say? Not 5 favorite, but 5 releases, be it old, be it new, that I happen to rewatch and either liked more or liked just as much, whatever. But it will be like 5 Vinegar Syndromes with high rewatchability. So that'll be fun. I got to come up with the right title for it. Anyway, getting on a tangent like I usually do with Adam. Anybody that's keeping up with the podcast and everything, Adam hasn't been on in a long time. I hope he'll be on again. I hope he watches this. If you're watching this, hi, Adam. But I do things by myself at the moment. But anyway, my number 3 in my top 10 from 1981 horror movies, House by the Cemetery, which just watched with Joe Bob, so that was a blast. And it was fun watching, because he didn't really get it. Like, he liked it, but he didn't 100% get it, so I had Eli Roth explaining it to him. I am actually a big fan of Eli Roth. I think I like him more as a fan than I do his movies, if that makes sense. But I like his movies way more than most people do. I really do. I love Green Inferno, let's just say that. But, of course, homage to Italian cannibal movies. Yeah. Anyway, House by the Cemetery is always a lot of fun. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. Yeah, you can a little bit. This is one of the newer editions that's also been put out on 4K by Blue Underground. I kind of hate when they were putting out the Blu-rays and then very shortly after doing 4K. I'll stick with this. It's good enough. It's a great set. But House by the Cemetery has always been one of my favorites, and it was one that, growing up, I didn't realize that I would always catch House by the Cemetery on those budget sets, like with like 20 movies, 50 movies, and more times than not, if all of the ones that I ever had, those were the cut versions, and I didn't know that, because it's so good and so like violent anyway that I wouldn't have picked up on that. Some movies are obvious. I didn't think that was until I saw an Anchor Bay DVD, like, 18 years ago or whatever it was. Blew me away. I was like, whoa, so this is how it's supposed to be? But, it's in my top 3, at least. It's definitely in the top 5, Lucio Fulci. But, probably top 3. Huge Lucio Fulci fan. But it's just, if you like Italian movies, it's so much fun. And you know what? I'm going to go on record and say Bob gets a bad rap. So many people, I can't stand his voice and blah, blah, blah. But I'm also one that I don't let things bother me like a lot of people do with movies. Yes, his voice is high. Yes, it might sound like a girl and blah, blah, blah. But I think he gets a bad rap. I'm for Team Bob. Bob gets a bad rap. I'm used to kids. I've heard way worse kids, Bob doesn't bother me. Anyway, I digress. But it's a definitely an interesting story. It's basically about this family, a mom and dad and Bob, who is the son, who buy a house in Boston, I think it's supposed to be. I think so. It's in Massachusetts, and not only is it's kind of like a haunted thing, but Dr. Freudstein, I believe that's how you say it. Yeah, Dr. Freudstein is basically this zombie that feeds off of people to keep himself going and himself alive. But there's definitely some infamous scenes of like children, like Bob in peril, so like children in peril. The violence is over the top. Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? For a gore fest for Lucio Fulci. Some people don't necessarily understand the ending. I don't really want to go into the ending, but I can explain it if somebody wanted me to, or even watch that episode with Joe Bob and Eli Roth. He explains it pretty well. I get the ending, but it's also got like ghost story in there. There's some what kind of things in it, but overall it's a great movie. But this is an older edition right here. This was the first Blu-ray that I ever bought for this movie. But it was an Arrow again, they put out a lot of like these window ones. Like it's a window in 2011 that I picked up on, because I've been buying from them pretty much since I started. It has a book and poster and 4 different covers. I always like this one. I always get a kick out of this one because if you look closely, the picture of that guy is not in the movie. It actually looks just like Jack Torrance, and I think it actually is Jack Nicholson. So, but if you like Italian movies and you like Lucio Fulci and you haven't seen House by the Cemetery, what are you doing? Go watch it. But yeah, out of all these, if you got 4K, you might as well just buy the 4K. But this is the Blue Underground is probably the best version of the movie. All right, so my number 2 is now that I got through my Italian. There'll be more Italian coming up in a minute with my honorable mentions, but my number 2 is Halloween 2. I probably would get into some shit with some people, but I don't know why people's opinions bother people. I've gone into that before. I won't go into it again, but I like part 2 more than I like part 1. I know, crazy. But I'm also not the guy that I don't have that mentality of, oh man, I gotta, like, it's the first one, so it's gotta be the best one, like your favorite one, or whatever. No, not necessarily. A lot of times I'm the sequel guy, and am I saying this is my favorite one? No. But I will be doing a Halloween ranking, kind of like I did with my Friday the 13th one, and I'll have a guest on that one, so that should be fun. And maybe a cross-podcast thing, but that's all I'll say. But, oh man, and I know some people, when I said, oh, I like this more than the first one, they're like, it is, like some of them, and I agree. This is basically just a continuation of that night, and it is. So they're really 1 and 2 is one movie, if you want to look at it. I try not to like dig too deep into the craziness of ignoring all the sequels with the newer ones, but that has nothing to do with this, because I love Halloween 2. I've always loved Halloween 2, even more than the original. Not saying I don't like the original, of course, how can you not? But Halloween 2 is great. And this cover is so cool. I've always loved this like skull pumpkin thing. But you find out like more stuff in it. But anyway, this is from the box set. This edition is from the infamous box set from Scream Factory years ago. I got the 15-disc version, and there's so much great stuff on it. There's a TV version with a whole other like thing with Dr. Loomis, where it's like is it like a court thing? I can't remember, but something along those lines. That's really good. It's got some Horrors Hollow which other ones did. I believe The Howling does. A lot of Scream Factory ones do. I love those with Sean Clark. But yeah, it's Halloween 2. I mean, what else? What can I really say about it? From the people that brought you Halloween, more of the night you came home. Yeah, it's Halloween 2. I mean, yeah, duh. It's my number 2. So, alright, take a little pause on that before my number 1, and quickly talk about a handful of movies here, of my honorable mentions. Let's see, start with this. Now, this one is the first of, and this is a light version of that, but it's the first of a few that are going to be coming up between 82 and 83 that some places say this is 80, some places say it's 81. It says it's 81 on IMDb. Both these Blu-rays say that it's 1980. I don't know, but there's more drastic versions of that as I go on, and I'll explain my reasons for including it in a certain year. But what I'm talking about is maybe a little known little alien movie called Inseminoid. I've always liked this. The first time I ever saw it was maybe 15 years ago or so, under the title Horror Planet. It was a DVD I got from Netflix. And no, I'm not saying, like some people, when you can get DVDs from Netflix. You can still get DVDs and Blu-rays from Netflix if you choose to. I do. But Inseminoid is something else, man. It's like these creatures that, it's kind of like an Alien ripoff, but it's like these creatures that basically, rape this woman or whatever, and they rapidly give birth, except they give birth like normally as opposed to Alien, like comes out of the chest. Norman J. Warren directed this. This edition right here is out of the box set from the UK from Indicator. I've always loved Inseminoid, and this is the first time I ever had like a really good edition from Screen Factory, and then I kept holding off for that box set, and I'm so glad that I got it when I did, because I bought it, and like a week later, something like that, maybe 2 weeks later, unfortunately, Norman J. Warren died, and that box set was gone. But it's a really great box set, actually. Where did I put it? Oh, right here. Sorry about that. Hold on one second. Here we go. It's the Bloody Terror. Now, a lot of these editions are different editions. I don't know if they're the same scans. I haven't dived into it, but as you can see here, it has Bloody New Year, which is the same as actually all these but Inseminoid have been put out by Vinegar Syndrome. But if you really like these movies, and you really like Norman J. Warren, and you want a bunch of different special features, this is the box set, even though, unfortunately, as I say that, it goes for stupid price now, of course, because it's out of print. But it's a really cool box set. It's got a great book, huge book. Like, it's almost feels hardcover, even though it's not. It has lobby cards. The cases are cool. They're like this really soft cardboard. But yeah, if you like these movies enough, and you want to double dip, and you can get it for a good price, I definitely recommend it. I believe there's definitely more on the Prey than the other one. I always remember the Prey as a kid because of the infamous video box, which ironically, it's so bloody, but it gives away the ending. But you don't know it really until you see the ending. So I guess it's not a huge deal. Anyway. Getting off a bit of a tangent, but I wanted to talk about that briefly. A great box set, but I love Inseminoid. Prey is probably my favorite of his movies, but I do love Inseminoid. It's probably my second favorite. I've always been a huge fan of Norman J. Warren, and it's just unfortunate that he passed away, but he was old, and yeah. Alright. Now what do I do with them? I'm so prepared. Alright, we're going to skim through these really quickly. Another 1981 Lucio Fulci, he cranked him out in 1981, is an honorable mention of his version of The Black Cat. First time I saw this, wasn't a giant fan, still liked it because it was Lucio Fulci. Had Lucio Fulci-esque like violence and stuff like that. I just fucking... I know it will turn off some viewers, but I hate cats. I'm sorry, I don't like cats. But in a weird way, it kind of goes into helping me how terrifying it can be with some cats. This is one of the many movies called The Black Cat, but this is Lucio Fulci's The Black Cat. Definitely a honorable mention. This is, as we were just talking about Blue Underground, this just came out, and this is the cover I got. It was also on The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob on the last season, but Dead and Buried. Whoa. Okay. We got the 4K that just came out. Highly recommend that. It's so cool. I don't even know if it works with this camera. But anyway, Dead and Buried. I've always loved Dead and Buried. It's it's one of those like claustrophobic type of movies, and I've mentioned it before. I'm not even a claustrophobic guy, but it's something about where like you can't leave or you're being controlled, and like it freaks me out, and I love movies like that. So I'm that horror fan where some people are like, oh, it freaks me out, I can't watch it. I'm not that guy. If it freaks me out that much, I want to watch it more. But Dead and Buried is so good. I don't know why. I think kind of. There we go. It might just look all fucked up on the camera, but this is the best edition so far that you can get. This might be the best edition ever, like, to come out. Robert Englund's in it, pre-Freddy. But yeah, it's almost like a kind of like an Invasion of Body Snatchers type thing, but more with dead bodies. Like, it's fucked up, and it's the twists at the end. Oh my god, it's just, every time I watch this movie, it's mind blowing. But this set is amazing. Like I said, it has a 4K disc, a Blu-ray disc, and it has the score. So pretty great, and it comes with a booklet with Dead and Buried. Check it out. Another crazy movie for 1981. There was some great stuff. That's why it was hard for me to do a top 10, but I did it, and I'm happy with it. But I'm talking about an older release from Severin, 2014. Yeah, another Severin. I've been buying from them forever. Kind of like Vinegar Syndrome. I've been buying from since the beginning. So it's kind of weird, but I guess kind of cool that the people they're still new people, and I mean they've gotten huge. Anyway, Severin, Dead Kids. Now, as they call it, Ozploitation classic. One of the best horror movies you've never seen, says Fangoria. It's a creepy fucking movie for sure. I know it's known as other things, because Dead Kids isn't one of its main... Oh, Strange Behavior. Released in America as Strange Behavior. So if you've seen a movie called that, it might be the same movie. But Dead Kids, highly recommend it. You can still get this, I believe, from Severin, even though the disc is 7 years old. So it'd be something cool to, if you want anything extra in like a sale, to get like for cheap. Check it out, Dead Kids. Alright, I have two more quick honorable mentions, and we'll get going. This has been re-released recently, I believe, from MVD, something like that? I could be saying it completely wrong. But this is the Scorpion release, which is probably exactly the same, because usually they're exactly the same. House and Sorority Row. I don't know what it is about this movie, but I've always loved House and Sorority Row. I like the remake, but I really love this. Which, speaking of that, little side note, because when I was talking about My Bloody Valentine, the remake of My Bloody Valentine is so fucking good, in my opinion. Anyway, yeah, there isn't anything too crazy different about House and Sorority Row. Some people might call it a typical slasher, but I have fun with it. This is a great addition. There's 2 discs, but this is definitely a little gem that might get overlooked. House and Sorority Row, I definitely recommend it. And my last honorable mention is second Italian in my honorable mentions, and I'm talking about my personal favorite Italian cannibal movie, Cannibal Ferox. Yes, I said it. Yes, I like it more than Cannibal Holocaust. I like it more than all the cannibal movies. Something about Cannibal Ferox. I just love it, and this edition is killer. I mean, it has the score. It has a shit ton of special features. It's of course completely uncensored and uncut from Grindhouse Releasing. It is Region A. I know I don't always remember to mention that because I don't usually look for it because I don't need to, but I just happen to see it. But Umberto Lenzi's, huge Umberto Lenzi fan. I will be doing an episode on him as well. Cannibal Ferox. Alright, so got through the honorable mentions. I'm going to say my number one, which, if anybody knows me, is going to be obvious probably. Am I saying this particular movie is necessarily better than all these movies? No. It's my favorite? Yes. It's a movie that I've again talked about on a previous podcast, but my number one favorite horror movie of 1981 is Friday the 13th Part 2. I know. Not a big build-up, not a big whatever. It's obvious if you know me or whatever, and how much I've talked. I love Friday the 13th. I love Jason. It's the beginning of Jason, man. Of course it's amazing. Which, ironically, is kind of in the middle of the road for my, ranking of my Friday the 13th movies. But, yeah, Friday the 13th Part 2, what else can I say? It's the beginning of Jason. It's directed by Steve Miner, who also directed the third one. Amy Steele is in it, which I've met. She was a sweetheart. That was definitely a great experience. But I mean, it's Friday the 13th Part 2. What else can I really say about it? And I hate to. I'm gonna kind of take back a little bit of what I said when I was like, is it better than all these movies? Maybe not, but it's all subject to opinion. This is my absolute favorite movie of 1981. Is it better? Maybe not. I don't know, but it's fucking Friday the 13th, and it's the introduction of Jason, as I've said for the third time now. It's Sackhead. It's pre-mask. I always remember as a kid, one of the scenes that always stuck with me for some reason was the scene, not even just the scene of Jason jumping through the window without his sack, but something about Amy Steele, or Ginny, that when she put on his mother's sweater and was trying to trick him, so she wouldn't get killed, I'm your mother is pleased, and blah, 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 that scene. Such a creepy scene. And then the fucking end, which doesn't really give away anything in the movie, the pre-credits thing when they zoom into her face, and you always feel like her eyes are going to open or something, and they don't. But, yeah. My favorite movie of 1981 is absolutely, and quite possibly, the best movie, in my opinion, of the year as well. It's my favorite. Friday the 13th, Part 2. So, that was fun. It was a lot longer than the first one. I get on tangents. I apologize. Sometimes I'm straightforward, and other times I get on tangents. If you had fun with this, or you like anything about it, please like and subscribe. That always helps. I know everybody says that, but it's just as simple as a click. I really appreciate it. It's slow going for that type of stuff for me, and I'm going to keep plugging away at it because that's just the icing on the cake, really. Because I'm just doing this for the fun of it, because I love movies, and I don't have necessarily a schedule. That might help me, but I kind of do it when I really want to do it, because I think if I had a schedule, it might feel like a job kind of thing. But anyway, I just have fun with it. I love movies. I love horror movies. I love exploitation movies. I love movies in general. But anyway, thank you for watching or listening. This has been my top 10 favorite horror movies of 1981. I know I've said that a bunch. Sorry. So next up will be my top 10 favorite horror movies of 1982, and as I said, 82 and 83 are going to be a little bit infamous because there's going to be years that don't necessarily match up, and there's going to be reasons, and I will explain them when that time comes. So 1982, my top 10 favorite horror movies of 1982 is up next. So, yeah, this has been the Horror of It All Movie Podcast. I'm Eric. Till next time.